Welcome to Meet the Innovators of NAMM. This is our third of three I call them open mics of some really cool instruments that are either new, recent, coming out at NAMM, or just people that kind of popped out of the woodwork when we said, let's do something cool. Let's put a bunch of different instruments on stage and give you guys all a chance to hear them, see them, understand how they work, see what their features are, and so forth. So really excited to have everybody back today. If you missed the previous sessions, you can follow us at musictectonics.com and join the app. We have a Music Tectonics app where we'll be posting the archive recordings from the last two. And you can what's really cool is just in a 30 to 45 minutes, you can see a bunch of different instruments, some of the most innovative stuff happening at NAMM. So super cool way to kind of dive in. Another thing that's a little different, a lot of the NAMM sessions were pre-recorded, and we are going for more like the live feel, getting a little bit more of an organic, interactive, dynamic thing. So you get that kind of special energy that's so hard to get online, but trying to pull it out here. In fact, let's pull me out here. Got to get myself in focus. There we go. Here I am. I'm here. So thanks for joining. Just as a recap before we get started with today's demos, our first session, we saw some amazing instruments. We saw the Op6 from Korg, which is their latest digital synth, beautiful sound. We had Playtronica come and show off their Orbita, which is actually a prototype, not quite ready, but it looks like a little turntable with colored magnets that you move around to trigger sounds. And we saw the very cool squishy box, the Skoog 2.0, which is great for kids and also folks with special needs, but can also be used as a controller for a lot of stuff, lots of possibilities. Then in our second session, the great artist Chagall demonstrated the Mimu Gloves, which are gloves with tons of trigger possibilities, and she did such a beautiful job demonstrating that and the Glover app. We had Native Instruments demonstrate their first ever standalone unit, the Machine Plus, and then Teenage Engineering came in with several different, their Street Fighter, their Mega Man, little pocket operators. Those are those little guys that look like little calculators, but each one has a different sound. They also talked about their Magic Radio, which has a beautiful radio sound, but also allows you to sample the radio right in the mix. We got to hear from Audionamics with their on-demand stem separation, which is available now. You can actually go through the cloud, put up your tracks, and it will pull out the stems, the separate vocals, bass, keys, whatever, which has a lot of cool functionality for synchronization, remixes, and other kinds of interesting things you can do with existing work. And then Casio showed the beautiful CDP S350 digital piano. Just sounded gorgeous, and he really demonstrated some cool stuff. So we'll be posting links to that in the Music Tectonics app. You can get that at the iOS or Android store, totally free to join. We're literally just trying to spotlight cool stuff. There's nothing else going on here. It's just, don't mind us. We're just showing off some cool stuff. So today, you're here for our third Meet the Innovators of NAMM demo session. I'm going to give you a quick preview of what's coming up, and then we'll just jump right in. We're going to have Yamaha kick it off, demonstrating their digital sax. Roland's going to show off the VerseLab MV1. Henrik Langer is going to show off the 2.4 sync, which I think you're going to be excited to see what you can do with that. And then Krishna Chetan is going to show off the Fluid Pitch, which is a plugin that allows you to do some new cool tunable things with your pitch wheel. And then finally, we're going to have something a little different. Audible Reality is going to show a little bit about what they're doing with personal audio settings and 3D audio and stuff like that. So without further ado, I'd love to welcome on stage Austin Snowden with Yamaha to show off their digital sax. Welcome, Austin.
Hey, Dimitri. Thanks so much for having me. Really excited to show everyone here all about the Yamaha YDS 150 digital saxophone. As a saxophone player myself, this has been a whole lot of fun to play with. But what's really cool is it's so easy for anyone to get started. You don't need to start sounding really good, whether you're a lapsed musician or a brand new musician. So I'm going to walk through some of my favorite voices on this instrument, and as we go through, point out some of the cool features. So as I mentioned, I am a saxophonist myself, very classical oriented. So what was really impressive was to see the quality of some of the sax voices on here. We did a full-scale sampling on about 50 different saxophone voices, and each one, had a specific player using a specific model saxophone. So these are really high-quality voices. Right, so it actually uses a alto sax mouthpiece, and it comes with a synthetic reed. So again, everything you need to get started. But this instrument is so easy. If you're not familiar with a saxophone mouthpiece, that's okay. You'll still make the same great sound, even if you don't quite know how to form and control your embouchure. Here's another voice. This one will be a soprano voice. Right, so you hear me do some pitch bends in there. And that's actually not something that's controlled by the mouthpiece. Something, if you're used to playing an acoustic sax, that's where all that control happens. But for the digital saxophone, with the right hand thumb, there's what's called an analog controller, very similar to a joystick on a gaming controller. And that is what allows you to do pitch bends and some other effects that you can customize in there. So when I first got this, and I was describing it to people, I couldn't stop using the word fun. It really is so simple and so fun and entertaining that you can really be very creative with it. One of the things that I like to do is take a song or a transcription that I'm working on and just play it with different voices that are that have different effects to it. So here's an example of one of those. This is a tenor voice with an effect already on it. Again, very simple to use, very fun to play, very easy to play. I don't quite have to have so much control over my embouchure to make these good sounds. Another cool thing that some of the voices have on here is there are, for the one I'm about to play, it's bari and tenor playing at the same time. There's a few other combinations like bari and soprano, alto and tenor, all the different combinations and pairs of saxophones. So another cool thing about this and the different things that you can adjust on here is in that bit, maybe I needed to practice it a bit more. There were a few blips in there. There are actually settings in here such as key response that can help you get rid of some of those blips. It kind of corrects them for you. So if you're new to playing or you've just got a lick that you still need to practice, you can make those adjustments. You can also adjust how sensitive it is to your amount of air, how much air you need to start the sound, or how nuanced you can really be. There's a lot of different options. So in talking with people who have gotten a hold of one of these and other saxophone artists and whatnot, one of the really fun thing, again back to the fun things, is the non-saxophone voices. If junior high me got a hold of this, my parents probably would have gone crazy about hearing this next one too much. So again, all kinds of different things you can do with this. The non-saxophone voices are a lot of fun, but perhaps the most unique and customizable thing about this is there are actually 20 spots on here for you to go in and create your own voices. You pick basically an existing voice as the starting point, and then add all kinds of different parameters and settings and effects to it. So here's one that I've actually gone in and made, which has made a transcribing project I'm working on that much more fun. So those are some of my favorite voices on the digital saxophone, the YDS 150. They are available to be ordered at dealers. They are in high demand. So go talk to your dealer and try to get a hold of one of these. It's a lot of fun. Again, thanks so much for having me, Dimitri, and I'll be hanging around in the chat if there's any questions.
Yeah, awesome. That was so cool. I love those last couple just because it shows kind of like how far you can push things, which you can't do on a regular saxophone. Can you do dubstep? Can you get really crazy with this?
I have pushed the limits of the app and how much you can customize. And yes, if that's your kind of music and you can play it, I am by no means good at trying to show that right now.
Yeah.
But yes, there's all kinds of different possibilities. You can transpose it down a few octaves, make it interesting voices, add all these overdrive effects. It's definitely, the possibilities are endless right now.
Super fun. Thanks, Austin. That was great. Thanks for doing the demo and jumping onto our crazy Innovators stage and kicking it off for us. I hope you had a great NAMM, and let's stay in touch.
Absolutely. Sounds great. Thanks, Dimitri.
Thanks. So that was fun. Daniel, let's get you on here. We'd love to hear what the Roland VerseLab MV1 is up to and what you can show us there for something totally different. I mean, that's one of the things about, instead of just doing branded demos all the time, but like getting a lot of different folks on, we get to mix it up like crazy. How you doing, Daniel?
Absolutely. I'm doing so good this morning. I'm just had a cup of coffee. It's a really crisp morning here in Los Angeles. So
where are you? Oh, you're in LA. Okay.
Yeah.
Nice.
So we're talking about the MV1 today, and the MV1 here is really intended to be an all-in-one song device. So here's what we really want to accomplish with the MV1. We want people to finish more music, and we've got all the sounds, tools, effects, and hands-on control that you need to channel that creativity and to finish songs quickly. On top of that, we have sort of taking from our sort of MC line, that idea of being able to build tracks. What we've done is we've put on a microphone preamp and vocal processor on here, so you can do vocal recording in the modern style. So we have something called auto pitch, which is our version of auto tune. You've got harmonizer, an enhancer, and we really want bars to meet beats, meaning that we really want vocals to meet the instrumentals that you're able to create all in one single box. Now, with the MV1, you get and how the MV1 is really different from a lot of other instruments in a very similar format or form factor with 16 pads. You've got a sequencer at the bottom. How this really is different is that you've got a really deep sound library with something called Zencore, right? So you've got over 3,000 tones that you can play, that you can choose from synthesizer sounds to electronic sounds to our vintage sounds. They're all sort of built in at the ready on the MV1 with over 80 drum kits for the user to choose from. And on top of that, we've got this really sort of easy way, this workflow strip here, so that you can kind of go in and you can create songs whenever that inspiration strikes. Now, what's really cool about the MV1 is, no, it doesn't have a battery built in onto it, but the USB power will power if, let's say, you've got something like a phone battery bank with USB. You can hook that up and you can take this guy wherever you want. And with a 10,000 milliamp hour battery, you can get about 10 hours of production anywhere that inspires you. It's really cool that you can go ahead and do that. So again, we've got this workflow strip, and the workflow strip here, this is where all the magic happens. And so you have something called your section, right? And this is where we kind of start everything off. And inside of the section, this is where you're able to create something like your song phrases. So you can make, let's say, this pad to be your intro. You can make this pad to be your verse. Let's say your first variation of the verse. Let's say it's a 4-bar or an 8-bar variant of your verse 1. Let's say you've got another 8-bar variant of verse 2. And so on and so forth. You can kind of build these different sort of sections. And as you're building the sections, you hit the sequence button here. And from here, what you're able to do is you can actually edit those sections that you're creating. So let's say I'm going to pick a blank section. You've got 4 drum tracks and 3 melodic tracks that you can choose from. You're not limited to just that possibility. For instance, if you wanted to change this kick, drum into, let's say, an instrument track, you do have the freedom to be able to do that. So you're not boxed in, per se, to having just the drum tracks be the drum tracks or having the melodic tracks just be the melody tracks. You can mix and match however you choose, however you want to keep track of things is totally up to you. But what we do is we just provide this sort of easy sort of access for people who are just beginners and coming into song production or intermediate song producers that want to get into songwriting. This is a really simple way that you're able to do that. So let's start out with creating a drum track. And creating a drum track is as simple as hitting kit. And if I'm in the kit mode, if I want to, I can preview the kit. I can change the kit if I want to by pressing the value button here. I can go through again, there's 80 drum kits, and the sounds in this machine are different from, let's say, our MC release or something like our TR machines. All these sounds in here are PCM based on our Zen Core engine. And again, what you can do is, let's say you're in the kit mode, right? All of these individual tracks are kind of separate. So meaning what you can do is you can change the step length of how long or how many steps that your particular sequence is going to have per track. And that's really cool if you just want to layer on certain sounds together. So let's go ahead. I'm going to change this over to a 64 step length over here. I'm going to confirm that. And recording it is super easy. I have this default kit here. All I have to do now is press the record button. If when I press play, it's going to give me a count in. Right? And now that I've done that, all I have to do is kind of just play it back. Like, let's say I did that for the entirety of the 4 bars. And if I made a mistake, I can go back in. Let's say I hit this a little late. I can go in, bring that over. So what I've done is I've got quantize, right, as well. You can turn quantize on or off. So you have that option as well on the drum tracks. You have your bass tracks. You've got 2 instrument tracks by default. You've got an instrument. And with these instrument tracks, you've got really simple ways to go ahead and to create. Let's say you don't have a MIDI controller like I don't here at my house. What you have is a couple options that you can start creating from. For instance, you've got this chord mode here. And in this chord mode, what you can do is if you hit edit and you hit whatever pad you want, so you can have up to 16 different chords kind of laid out. And each of these chords can have up to 4 voices. You don't have to utilize all 4 voices per the chord if you wanted to. But once you do that and you edit exactly what you want inside of these buttons, what you're able to do, and once you select your patch, you can get some really great sounds. So that's something that might sound like this. Right? So you're able to build up any track, any kind of style, in any style that you want. You have the chord mode, you've got this style mode, and what the style mode does, let me change to my first instrument. What this is going to do inside of the instrument mode, this is going to be a really cool arpeggio tool. Right? But what I can do inside of this arpeggio tool is I can go into the actual arpeggio and I can change the style of the arpeggio. And that's something that's really awesome, is that you can go in, you've got inside of the style mode, you have something called motif, and you can have it either go up and down. You can have it go random. You've got all of these sort of different options of that to go. So if you're really into electronic music and you want to bounce back in between, back and forth, and using those sort of electronic sounds and using the arpeggiator to get really of these randomized, really cool segments, you can do that as well. Lastly, you have that vocal processor built in on board. And with the vocal processor, what you can do, I'm going to switch mics real quick, is you have, so I've got a lot of reverb kind of dripping all over this vocal track. But what you can do is I have the vocal track. If I hold shift and press on the vocal processor, I can go between a lot of different vocal patches, right? I'm going to choose the auto pitch. And I'll just give you an example of how this sounds. Right, so you can get that really radio-friendly sound right out of the box. And what's cool about the vocal track is that if I'm in the song mode and as I'm building out, and you do have a song mode as I'm going left to right, you can then select any of those sections that you've created, and selecting your section to bring in now into the song mode is just as simple as hitting record. You hit wherever in the sequencer you want that section that you've created to be, and you just press that note, and you'll see that the colors line up exactly. Once you've arranged your song, you hit vocal, and this is where you can record up to 16 different vocal parts. And it's really cool that you can do that. And you can basically select any point wherever you created that section, you can hit that point and then you can start recording from that specific section. So let's say I wanted to record my verse here and my chorus here. I can do that back and forth. Super cool. This is a really great machine. It's really deep. I know I only had 5 minutes to go over it, but something that's really great about Roland and the MV1 is that we do offer something called Roland Cloud Academy. And that's absolutely free. Once you purchase this machine, all you have to do is register it, and then you can get access into live product demos. We'll teach you how to use this in its entirety because it's so deep, it's so packed, and we'll be able to give that information to you. But thank you so much, guys.
That was awesome. Thanks so much for doing such a deep dive there and showing all those features. Really appreciate that. If you're just joining us here with Meet the Innovators of NAMM, we've just heard from a couple of great companies demoing. First, we had Yamaha's digital sax, and that was just Roland's MV1. Thanks, Daniel. And now, yeah, Henrik, come on stage. We've got Henrik Langer here with ready to demonstrate the 2.4 sync. I'll let you take it over, man. Introduce and tell us what you got.
Yeah, thank you, Dimitri, especially for the opportunity that we can show off our products. So what you can see here is a three-dimensional motion sensor. And of course, you know what a motion sensor is. Everyone has one in their smartphones. But the special thing about these motion sensors is that they are very precise. So it's comparable to a theremin, and the latency is also basically not perceivable. So if you imagine that and what you can do with it, you can attach it to objects, you can hook it up to your body, and especially you can use up to 7 sensors at the same time. And the receiver hardware is here. It's a Eurorack module with 16 CV outputs. And it also offers a bunch of different additional features. So, for example, you have built-in LFOs and so forth, and gate and triggers. And yeah, you can imagine what you can modulate with all these modulation sources. And I will just give you a short demo what you can do with it. So right now I have mapped the acceleration to in this direction to a snare sound, or to a drum sound, sorry. And so here's the trigger, but when I'm changing the position of the sensor, I'm changing the pitch of the kick. And I hope it's somehow perceivable for you. And yeah, and also there's a compass axis, for example, where you can also change the sound. So you have basically three tilt angles and acceleration axis per sensor, and you can use up to 7 sensors at the same time. And at the other sensor here, here's the kick, here's the snare, and for example, now I'm changing with this movement here, I'm changing the decay of the snare. So if you imagine you're a dancer, for example, and you put this 2 sensors on your hands and 2 sensors on your legs, on your feet, your body itself becomes the controller basically. And we already gave a lot of workshops with professional dancers, and we didn't have to explain anything. We just gave them the sensors and said, here you go, and they were directly instantly in another world. And there we realized how powerful this technology actually is. But as I already mentioned, there's much more what you can do with this wireless receiver module here. So it's also compatible to Bluetooth and Wi-Fi. So the sensors work with the Bluetooth with a distance of 20 meter radius and with 20 hours battery time. And the module itself is also compatible with open sound control. So you can use the digital workstations to transmit your automations or your notes as well to your Eurorack wirelessly. So it's a very powerful interface. It offers also a web app built in. So you just connect to the Wi-Fi, then you can do all the configuration. Let's say you want to map this movement of this sensor to output XY. And of course, as I mentioned, you can also use the So let me show you another feature of this. So I will modulate oscillator now and some overtones of the oscillator. So, and here you can really see how precise it is. I don't move, the sound doesn't change. I'm just going slightly to one direction. And you already hear how precise it is. You see how precise it is. So let's, for example, use also a built-in LFO to modulate sound parameters. So let's say we are using a SAW LFO here. So when I go up to this direction, the frequency of the LFO goes up. So imagine you lifting your arms and the sound changes accordingly. Of course, you could also use also light, for example, to control light on stages and so forth. So yeah, there's a lot of many things you can do with it. Maybe also a very short teaser about the new product of us, which is this MIDI controller here, which is a light-sensitive MIDI controller. And here in the middle is the light sensor, which is measuring the brightness of the environmental light. And you have 12 LEDs here to visualize notes and CC signals and so forth. At first, it sounds pretty primitive or simple, but the cool thing is we have feedbacks. We can create feedback loops here. So the higher the sensor measures light, the less LEDs are on. So it starts oscillating, and you can actually interact with the oscillating light and basically playfully interact with the sound. So for example, now you hear a little arc sound, and as you see, I have some light from above, and the tone goes up, and the tone goes down. And also I can use the random mode. So now the controller basically modulates it, or creates notes, has an internal quantizer as well, MIDI clock sync and so forth. And now you can basically randomly, generatively create notes with light. So yeah, it's a neat little gadget, but it's actually also very nice. All right, and if you look for, you will find a lot of demos on our social media, just to mention. So there's just very much better quality.
Hey, stick around. I got a couple questions for you, if you don't mind.
Sure.
That was really cool, and exactly the kind of stuff we're like, what's out there in the world, and you're bringing it, which is great. There's some cool comments in the chat. Jade Preboy said, "Looks like zero latency," so he was impressed with that, which is great for those micro movements you were showing us, and also it's like 360 degrees of movements, which is kind of interesting. That must have been super hard to create.
Yeah, it took quite a while, definitely, but fortunately we got a government funding for this. So we were 3 people in our team, and that is our first product. But we of course focus in the future more or still on the motion sensor thing. So of course this is Eurorack right now, so it's quite expensive. Not that many people have Eurorack, especially dancers most of the time. But I can say so much that there will be coming something for the consumers as well.
Yeah, that's what I was asking. Like, do you see this getting into a more kind of consumer-friendly application? Yeah. What would the form factor look like at that point? What would the interface be? What do you vision in 3-5 years?
So I can tell at least so much that we will provide very easy to use software with the sensors, and another digital receiver which has USB and traditional MIDI, so you can hook it up to all your synthesizers, to your mobile phone, to your audio workstations, whatever. And we are currently focusing a lot on the user experience and user interface, especially. So we really develop on the product from the point of view of a dancer who typically doesn't know anything about synthesizers, and so it will have a graphical interface, and you basically you have some presets where you can map the sounds on some parameters, and you can use it when you're on the go. So if you like, you can dance in the park and get the sounds with a mobile phone. So that's how much I can say. And
yeah, that's cool.
Yeah. We actually have a newsletter on our webpage. So if you're interested, subscribe.
Very cool. Awesome. And you did get a couple other comments. Daniel, who's just on here from Roland, says this is such a cool way to get really expressive with instruments, which is it's a cool emerging thing. We're seeing each year at NAMM more and more things that have this tactile quality or something that just gets you outside of the keys, outside of the buttons, and allows these more fluid sounds to go with fluid movement, which is pretty cool. And then Luke Hassler says, very impressive. I can imagine loads of uses in live music when that becomes possible. Again, we're also hopeful for when we can venue stages and audiences too. But that was super cool. Henrik, thank you so much for coming in and showing that off.
Thank you too.
Super impressive and fun to see.
Thank you. All right. Bye-bye.
See you later. Okay, so I'd like to invite Krishna with Fluid Pitch, Fluid Innovations on the stage. If you can, please get your mic and audio going. In the chat, thanks for all this engagement, guys. It's great to hear from everybody. Keep it coming. Here's Krishna. How you doing, Krishna?
Hey, Dimitri, thanks for having me here.
Your audio is really low. I think if you can get your mic input up.
Yeah. Sure, one sec. How about now? Is it better?
It's better, but it would be good even more if you can.
Sure. How about now?
Good. Now it's good.
So, Dimitri, thanks for having me here. I'm here to show Fluid Pitch. Fluid Pitch was invented to solve a very specific problem, and we made it to be able to play Indian melodies or any world music melodies more easier. And the problem that we had with the previous pitch bend wheel, the traditional pitch bend system, is it's always plus or minus 2 semitones. And even though you have the option to change the pitch bend up and down settings, it's never dynamic, or you can't change it real time. It's not musical. We've done with Fluid Pitch, we've taught a little bit of music to your pitch bend wheel. When you use Fluid Pitch, it asks for your scale and your root. So if you just enter, say, C or minor or major, by leveraging this data, it understands your whole keyboard, and it knows that C is the root, E is the third, G is the fifth, blah blah blah, and it knows that from D to E is 2 semitones up if you use the pitch bend wheel up, and if you use it down, it's 2 semitones up. And so it becomes intelligent, dynamic, and that's the whole idea. And it's not just for any major minor scales, and you can use it, customize the scale just like an auto-tune plugin. Use any Indian ragas, Arabic makams. We even have micro tuning feature, so you can use you can for the first time play like half. So let's see how it works. So can you hear my audio?
Yeah, that's good.
Okay, there you go. So basically, Fluid Pitch is a MIDI FX plugin. All you have to do is insert it prior to your synth or sampler, and set your root and scale, and that's it. So right now I have it in C minor. Let's quickly bypass Fluid Pitch and see how traditional pitch bend works in a C minor scale. Okay. So, if you use it in the D and push it up, use your pitch bend wheel up, you're gonna land you on E note, which is not part of the C minor. Same with D sharp. If you use it down, it's gonna land you on C sharp, which is not part of the scale. So if you use it on G sharp, it's gonna land you on your sharp 4, which is a very totally out of the scale note. So if you use Fluid Pitch prior to your synth and this synth or sampler, and set your root note and minor scale, it primarily works on your pitch bend data and kind of puts it in a very musical and intelligent way, and basically starts working with you. So right now I'm in C minor. So, and I can glide freely within the scale of C minor. So, not that's the primary, the idea of fluid pitch, but you can change it to major and okay. So, and you also have real-time access to different pitch bend range. To use that, you just have to change your pitch bend range to 12 because the standard pitch bend range is 2. So if you change it to 12 in both your fluid pitch and the synth, you will be able to access different pitch bend ranges. Okay, so right now I'm in C minus and in pitch bend range 3, so it's gonna travel 3 notes within the scale of C minor. You have different pitch bend ranges all the way up to an octave. And the cool thing is fluid pitch. See, after we invented the scale of pitch bending system, I didn't want it to be just monophonic, and we wanted it to be polyphonic. And the only way we could able to do it is by upscaling the MIDI, your standard keyboard, into an MPE system. And so we built a MIDI upscale engine out of necessity to be able to do polyphonic pitch bending. Okay, so all you have to do is enable MPE mode in your fluid pitch and also in your synth, and you can do polyphonic pitch bending. Let me load up another sound. That's in 3 mode now. Let's put it to 2 mode. And sorry, I have the scale sitting around here. So basically that I had the fluid pitch in C major, and I was able to polyphonically bend chords and come up with a new way to pitch bend chords. Let's try another example. So this is in 3 mode, and let's try it with a sound, some beat. Cool. So as you can see, you were able to generate pure MPE data using just your standard MIDI keyboard. And if you want to, like, literally use your pitch pen, your pencil tool and draw this kind of pitch pen curves, this would easily take you a day. And we think this is the future for MPE devices. The easiest way for you to upgrade to the MPE system. And we just want to give the power of MPE to all the keyboards in the world. And that's our mission.
Super cool.
Thanks so much.
Nice
Thanks
one, Krishna. Super cool, and nice job on the video work there too, the camera work. But hey, I was just putting in the chat here. We saw that AR Rahman just congratulated you. You won the MIDI Awards popular vote, huh? At NAMM.
Yeah, we did. Thank you so much. We're just happy that it was. I founded this company in the pandemic time. Actually, this was an idea I had for a long time, but in this time I was able to do actually act on it and then bring it to life. But it was purely about giving back to the music community, and I'm glad that it paid back. And
that's great.
As long as
really cool. Yeah, we some nice comments in the chat. Jade was talking about just how really warm it sounded when you were doing the polyphonic pitch stuff. He was asking about Hertz tuning. He's curious about Hertz tuning. I don't even know what that means, but you might. Hertz
tuning. No, basically, fluid pitch just works on the MIDI data, and so. Once you set your scale and your root, it's going to stay in the root and in the scale that you choose. So there's no hertz or audio. We are not an audio plugin. It's purely MIDI.
Okay, cool. Are you getting like a crazy response in India from folks who feel like there's finally something that's useful for the modes that a lot of Indian music is in?
Yes, we've got amazing support and feedback, and we are one of the very first companies, music software companies in India, and Fluid Pitch is the first MIDI FX plugin which was developed in India. And the thing is, I might have not shown, it's not just major, minor. You can select any notes, any customize to any ragas or makams, and just imagine your pitch bend wheel knowing the scale and working with you to deliver that performance with more confidence, and that's what we are aiming to deliver, and also open up new possibilities, like as you've heard, this chord bending and polyphonic pitch bending has the capacity to open new dimensions.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, super creative on your part for creating this, but how much creativity it's going to unlock over the next several months will be so interesting to see. Thanks, Krishna, and congratulations on your award. Let's stay in touch.
Thank you. Thanks so much. I would love to work with you and take this forward to
appreciate it. Everybody. Thank you.
Thanks so much.
For being here.
Thank you. I want to congratulate all the other people who participated. A lot of cool things.
Awesome. Thank you for
Krishna. Having
appreciate
me
that. Matt, why don't you come on stage and we'll close out with Audible Reality's demo of a whole different type of audio experience. Hey there. Welcome to stage.
Hey. Hey, thanks for having me. And yeah, I got to echo that. The presentations have been awesome, and thanks for putting this on. You guys are the best. So,
thanks, man. It's great to have you. I mean, for you, I think we met at a NAMM, possibly originally a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
And you've been hoofing it on the concrete floors of the trade floor there for a while. It's great to have you kind of full circle on our stage as part of it. But I'll let you take it over and tell us all about what you're up to with Audible Reality and your new Pro offering.
Yeah, thanks, man. So first off, I want to just say last year at NAMM, we presented Audible Reality Pro concept. And here we are today, just weeks away from actually letting it go. So super excited to finally get to this day. It's been a long time coming. I also want to say that 3D audio mainly requires head over speakers, but unfortunately we couldn't figure out a way to put 3D audio and stereo through this call. So to follow up my call here, or presentation, if you want to join us at our Zoom at 3 o'clock Eastern, I'll be doing another presentation of this with my team over audio movers, and we'll be able to present it actually in 3D live on the screen. So this is Audible Reality. It's the brainchild of my my PhD that I got out of McGill University, studying with some of the biggest names like George Massenburg and Richard King. I've had the pleasure to bring on artists now to work with us, Teddy Riley, DJ Battlecat, Lenka, Canis, you name it. So what we're trying to do now with Audible Reality and 3D audio is to figure out why, as a producer, what you do matters to the listener. And we know everybody in the world hears differently from one another. And it's a real big challenge if you're trying to go from one device to the next and ensure that, you know, the device is engaging with that user on an audio level. It's also another challenge as an artist to know whether or not your mix actually worked out in the wild. You know, maybe there's just a big hip hop crew that would have loved your track had you mixed it more like hip hop, or had you added more spatialization or whatever it might be. So with Audible Reality, what we're actually doing is very, very deep in terms of data. We're trying to understand, if I mix something as an audio engineer, what did I do to the sound that I started with? And through that, we capture all the production data based on this plugin here called the Audible Reality Pro. This plugin will do everything from master a track just in stereo, or actually put out a 3D audio mix itself, or even better yet, put out an interactive master that you can change on the fly no matter where anybody listens at any time. So I'm going to get through a little bit of how it works, and then I'll explain how all that data comes into play to really help you understand the best mix for every person out there at any time. So right now I've just got this mix on, and forgive me, I'm going through my studio speakers, so I hope it translates. Don't know what to do, how to do it. So if I started with a mix like that, I mean, there could be millions of opportunities for me to just pull up new plugins and make an EQ adjustment, or, you know, push the vocal up just a little bit. There's so many different things that I can do. And so in this process, what we want to do is to say, okay, well, let's give you opportunities. Let's give you options to spatialize, to shape your EQ to whatever it is. And as you do that, we're going to keep that tracked as a preset in this plugin that you can use later on in our interactive process. So right now, if I go ahead and just open up this space window, I want to show you the different elements before we start really getting into it. This space window is essentially allowing you to customize the sound of a binauralization. If you know anything about 3D audio, it's not just stereo speakers. We're actually filtering, you know, based on ears. We're looking at differences in time delays that hit our ears from one position to another. We're looking at level differences between the ears. And these are all cues that our brain uses to actually externalize sound into space and make it real. So with the space control here, you have the ability to actually not only just shape the sound filtering that might hit your ears, but also create your own space as well, like your own room, your own environment, whatever that might be. And so some of our artists that are already using this have made just, you know, really great relaxing spaces to listen to. Some that just like externalize things out and you know, freak out because it's, you know, talking voice over here. Some have crazy sound effects that they put in, and it just makes an incredible experience. So the space will give you that opportunity. Then you've got a 4-band EQ to do whatever you want to do, like you always do with EQ. And then what really makes this thing powerful is we have a parallel mixer, so that everything that comes through our wet mixer is hitting the spatialization bus. Your stereo track, or your master, if you put this on the master bus, will come through the spatializer to be able to design it just like we talked about. But then at the same time, you can also pick the dry parallel path, totally unprocessed, and try to mix that into maybe you want to preserve some bass, or you want to preserve the voice, or whatever it might be. So these are what we call the expansion windows. And then here you have the independent controls for each of those parameters. our whole goal as a company is always to try to make it super simple for anybody to jump into 3D audio. We realize this looks nothing like anything you've probably seen before. We realize it doesn't look like a 3D audio panner. You know, none of that is going to be in Audible Reality. But what we give you is just a simple push button control to hear something different and then decide whether or not that's for you. So I'll try to play some here, and we'll see how it comes through on the other side.
Yeah. Don't know what to do, how to do it. Know that I believe, but I hate it. Yeah. Maybe it's hard on myself. Don't like asking for help. Yeah. Don't know what to do, how to do it. Know that I believe, but I hate it. Yeah.
So again, if you really want to hear this, please come to our Zoom call, because this is not doing it justice, just putting it over a mono speaker. But anyway, what we see here is these are some of the artists that we're already working with that already have created their own signature sounds. And so here's what I want to say is the next generation of music. This is the Audible Reality app, and we've had this out since August. We've had an incredible response. It's been featured a lot. We're growing more and more artists every day. So on this app, this is where you can actually come in and experience that mix that you just created here in this plugin. You can hear that on Spotify. You can actually hear it on Pandora here coming in the next month. Any track that you produce will be on any platform that you distribute to, right? So what Audible Reality does is it curates all of that into one app, one location that you can come and listen to it. And then at any one time, you can draw up that track. And now this isn't the same track we're listening to, but this is a DJ Battlecat produced track. You can put his vibe, his 3D sound effect right on top of that. And now you can listen to that master with his signature sound. So while we could print this mix and make it 3D and we could publish it out and just be a one-off production, you can also make infinite productions. And so the idea here is, what do people really want to hear? You know, as a producer, could I have 3 different versions of this master go out, and could I understand from that listener base which one was actually more effective for more streams, more engagement, you know, more spending, all that kind of stuff. And so with Audible Reality Vibes, all you got to do is open up Audible Reality Pro, create your 3D sound effect, save it as a preset. And so here, if I just go in and let's say Sweet and Spacey, that's my newest one. Now you can run this through an export process. And once that finishes, you have your finished vibe that you can then launch into the app. And so we have a dashboard as well that's launching this year. And you'll be able to create an account, come in and actually see the performance of your vibes over all the different streams out there. You can see, you know, here Bones UK is one of our artists. You can see how many plays happen on that vibe. You'll also be able to monetize these things. So if you think you can reach your fans and sell it for a couple cents or 99 cents or whatever, we give you 50% of all you make on the platform. And we're really trying to change up the listening experience in general. It's not just about putting out a track anymore. We know what digital has done to our audio, and we know what streaming's done to it. This isn't a play to try to say that Audible Reality is better than anything out there or any mixer's decision out there. What it's trying to do is to accompany your production style, your effort that you put in as an engineer or an artist, to really help you target those listeners specifically. You know, for years we think everybody likes the same sound, but what we really find out is they don't. They prefer very personalized experiences. And so that's what Audible Reality is all about, is helping you get there.
Awesome. Thanks, Matt. That was great. Appreciate that. I know this is a tough format to demo something like that, especially if headphones are the thing to do. In the chat, there's been some nice comments. Jade Preboy is looking forward to a future plug-in. It's really and other folks. talking about remember seeing you at the New York Music Tech meetup. Eleanor's posted your link to the Zoom that's starting in about 10 minutes. We probably need to let you go, like take a break before your next presentation. But thanks for jumping into the mix. Congrats on all the progress, and thanks for always being a friendly face at NAMM.
Thanks a lot, guys. Take care.
All right.
See ya.
And anyone that's here, feel free to, first of all, check out the links that are in the stage chat. You might want to grab any links before we move on. But next up, we've got our world famous Music Tectonics speed networking. On the left side of your screen, you see networking with the red now button. As soon as we close down this stage, or even right now, you can go in there. And when you click on it, oh, Arnow's here, Dick Wingate's here, Scott Graves, thanks for all the great comments, and Christina, brilliance, and John, thanks everybody. It's so great to have so many friendly faces here. But go ahead and join the networking now. I'm Dimitri Vitsa, the CEO of Rock, Paper, Scissors. We're a PR firm that specializes in music tech, as most of you already know. And we're also the event director and founder of Music Tectonics, the conference. We're going to be online again in October. We'll see if we get clearances for doing something in person as well, but we'll definitely be online. We've got an app at app.musictectonics.com. The podcast comes out every week. There's a new episode today. Other than that, come over to networking. Love to see you over there. Let's do a little chatting and catching up face to face. Get out of this this remote work stuff, and actually connect with folks that are working on the same stuff. So I'm going to stay here on screen for a couple more minutes because the chat's going crazy over here. Thanks, Scott. My daughter made this shirt, and it's just the green screen effect that's making it flash. It's actually just embroidered. So make your way over to networking, and we'll see.